All right, it's media day. We are talking 19-6A with Katy Taylor, head coach Chad Simmons, and coach. You were the toast of the town. Your team was the toast of the town because we do this last year, and you look through the district, and not a lot of people had you guys picked as one of those four spots. And then when you played your first two non-district games, it took a while for you guys to get started. You gave up a lot of points and didn't score as many as you needed to. But once you got into district play, that first game, you must have saw something there against Cinco Ranch where you kind of just you held them there to 7 points, and that kind of defense kind of showed up a lot of times, like Morton Ranch, Maid Creek, and of course the Katy Jordan game, which you needed the most. You got so many good defensive plays. Just talk about how that team played for you last year.
Well, I was saying earlier before we actually started the interview, these guys played, at a level collectively above what you would predict as just individuals. We had some good individuals that were good football players, but just played good, sound defense together. Like you said, it took a little while to get going. And then that Cinco Ranch game, you wouldn't know it because it was a first district game. But that game was absolutely key.
Right.
I mean, as you got down to the end of the
Yep.
season, winning that game got us in, really. I mean, Jordan game was a big game, and
Right.
you want to win them all, but that game, because of just the way things fell on the standings, that was absolutely key. And Coach Dudley and I are really good friends, and we coached together for 16 years. He came over here with me, then went back to Cinco,
Right.
in 2019. But yeah, those guys, we had a real good group of kids with some experience and played hard and played together. So man, they were fun to coach.
Yeah, and you talk about that unit, and we were talking about this off screen too, because you lose a couple big components. You lose the defense MVP and Ashton Coker. You lose Cyrus Reyes, who has found himself on the first team all district in two positions, I believe, if I'm correct, on
Yep.
defense and somewhere on special teams. And then
Right.
but you do have some guys coming back. You got a couple linebackers coming back. Talk
We
about how
do.
some of these guys are going to have to step up and take that role where those 3-year starters have left.
Landon Sarge
Yeah.
was one of our inside linebackers that really a really good football player that is going to be a senior that's played as a sophomore and actually played some on the varsity as a freshman. So he's another one that's got a whole lot of experience. And watch him during spring training this past couple of months back, and other guys started to catch up toward the end, but he was at a whole different speed than anybody else on the field just because of his experience. And we try to get guys to see, on defense, if the faster you can play, the better off you're going to be. No matter obviously it's good to actually have that foot speed, but just recognition and kids knowing where to go, and that's what Landon has, and he can get I think get other kids to see, and that's the thing. It takes time to develop, but he's one of those guys we see stepping up, being a leader.
Yeah.
Alex McMoore,
Yeah, there you go. On the
defensive
line.
lineman that's going to be a senior that got out of a PE class when he was a freshman. He had moved from Bronx, New York,
Wow.
never played anything. Coach told me a couple times, "Hey, you need to come talk to this kid." So I went and talked to him one day in January and got him in off season, and he's the real deal. He is a speed edge guy that's really good against the run, and he is just lights out pass rusher, and he'll really help us. So he's another one that we have experience coming back. So we don't have quite the experience this year that we had coming back from last year
Right.
on defense.
What are we looking offense wise? Because I think you would admit your defense is what really helped you get into the postseason. Even the games you won, the Cinco Ranch game, you managed to only get 11. You probably would have beat Paytow if you got one more score there.
Yeah.
Talk about what you have coming back on offense and what you hope leads the way.
Where it all starts with either side of the ball. If you really look at it and you know what you're looking for, is the offensive defensive line. Because if you don't have that, the rest of it doesn't matter a whole lot. You want to have some good skill kids, and we do. I'll talk about those guys too. But our offensive line has got some experience. They're not really, the size is not just like you see some guys that you have a whole line of 275 300-pound kids. They're not like that. They're not quite that big, but they're decent size, 250 range. That are really mobile and smart kids that play together. So we feel really good about our offensive line. Hank Zelenko is a returner that played quite a bit last year. That'll be back. Harrison Miller, Ciro Montalvo, some guys that have some experience that are pretty athletic guys, just a little undersized, as offensive linemen, but effective. So we feel good there, and that's where it starts. Got some really good skill kids. We have some young kids. Cam Lewis, who played some as a freshman, great speed at a wide receiver. Javion Garrett is another younger kid. We're going to be young, but we still have some kids that were. And that was one of the things last year offensively. We lost our quarterback early.
Right.
We had a couple we lost in the spring that moved off, and then we lost our starter in the George Ranch, the first George Ranch game, and I had to kind of make up ground there, and we ended up being fine. But younger guys, and that are a bunch of them are back and are still underclassmen that are juniors. Javion, like I said, Connor Chanupa, who was a really good safety, backup is going to be our quarterback. Josh Jacobson is another running back with really good speed. We've got who else there? Chance Harris is a move-in, a wide receiver that's got good speed and ability. But yeah, we feel really good about, again, just in a nutshell, the offensive line is solid and some good skill players behind them.
I'm assuming
I think we'll be better. We think we'll be better offensively.
Better offensively. Yeah, that's perfect. And there's a way to, if last year didn't gain you the confidence by getting that 11th game, getting the players confident, you have a chance to build some confidence early on, because you the beginning of the Katy schedule and no Katy ISD team is a pushover, but it's a little bit more favorable at the beginning, and you have a chance to roll a little momentum in there and put yourself, like you did last year, yourself in a really good playoff light off the beginning. Is that kind of how you're looking at it? Go through Sidewoods and Bush and learn what you can about about your team, and then really get started for 4 games.
That's a big part of what non-district is about, is learning what guys, spring ball too, to learn what guys need to be on the field and in what spot. But those non-district games continue that process. Sidewoods is solid as can be. That we haven't beat them yet, so I mean they're really good. Bush is a new opponent, replacing George Ranch, and then so we have just those 2 non-district games to get tuned up. So and we'll hopefully gain some experience and momentum, and
I was going to say, you bet
ready to go once we open.
After last year, you bet had it with George Ranch, huh? You're like, nope, I'm going to take them off the schedule.
Yeah, they that last one was a heartbreaker, man. Lose by 2 points and miss a field goal and an extra point, then and a 2-point conversion at the end to tie it. You just, after what those kids have been through, and like you said, how the way they had played and gotten to that point. So, but
I guess
their coaches here, Cavallo's here now. So
that's right. I forgot about that.
We're still playing.
You still can't
get away from that guy.
Can't quite shake him. That was going to say. Let's look at the district a little bit. Let's look at the district a little bit, because you got. You talked about in the trenches, and obviously Katy's got 2 Division I guys as usual. They always have somebody in there, and Jordan's got probably a couple of the best skill position players coming back.
No doubt.
With Andrew Marsh and their running back Asper. But talk about the rest of this district. Obviously, Pato is I don't want to say the same as you, but they're really solid defensively, and they're trying to get their offense around. What do you see in this district besides a night in, night out war?
Well, that's really the main thing I see, is you can't overlook anybody. I mean, everybody we play in this district is well coached. They're going to have good players. I say it's one of the top, handful, 3 or 4 or 5 districts in the state. I mean, there's a lot of good, solid 6A districts, but top to bottom, man, it's it's as tough as it gets. So there's no weeks off. There's no like, hey, this one, is not as good, or whatever you want to say about that. That's not the case. So I mean, it is. It's just week in, week out. It's 4 teams out of 9 will get in, and it'll be a battle down to the end for sure. Those last couple spots, as it always is.
Exactly. And like you learned last year, you certainly can't take a game off, because that first game may be the reason why you're in or out of the postseason. So
no doubt about it.
It's going to be fun, Coach. I appreciate you joining us, man. We'll see you at the end of August.
Thank you, Ward. I appreciate it, man.